How do you build your personal brand without selling your soul? This is a weird question, but it's a question that I ask myself regularly. And you know why? Because I don't love the term personal brand. However, and it's got a little asterisk or caveat, this is an asterisk symbol, the thing I'm doing with my hands, if you can see me and you're watching on YouTube. There is an asterisk because we all have a personal brand, whether we like it or not. And so we've got to get intentional about how we build one, but I just don't want you to feel like me and get the ick, get that yucky vibe with it. I want you to feel like it actually adds value to you and your career. So today's episode is how to build your personal brand without selling your soul. Let's get into it. This is a podcast about making work work. You'll learn about leadership, career growth, and how to navigate those weird work challenges. I run a HR consulting business called Boldside, where I help leaders build epic team cultures. If you lead a team or run a business and you think I can help, let's connect on LinkedIn. My name is Shelley Johnson, and this is Work. First up, shoes are off, I'm crossing my feet, I'm sitting up because we're going to have a conversation, you and me, in the train, in the car, on your walk, wherever you are. That rhymed. I didn't mean it to rhyme, but I feel a little bit like Dr. Seuss. We're going to talk about your personal brand. And here's the thing. I have a problem with personal brand. And the problem I have with personal brand is that I think it's got a bad brand. It's getting really meta. Ryan, is that weird?
No, that works. No.
Ryan is our producer and he is here and he is my moral support through, the highs and lows of all this. But I'm going to ask you, I'm going to throw to you because I have some I don't know what you would call it, negative connotations with the term personal brand. And I don't know about our amazing listeners who are here right now listening to my voice. When you hear the word personal brand, I'm putting you on the spot, sorry, but what comes to mind?
Cringe.
Bit of cringe, yeah.
I don't know. I also think someone's they're putting out a brand that's not themselves as well.
Yeah. I think that's the thing though, right? It's there's a cringe element. We've all seen it, but it's usually connected to the exact thing you just said, which is when someone's putting out a brand that actually isn't who they are. So it's the inauthenticity to it, and thank you for jumping in with me on that. But I do think that is that feeling we get when we hear this term. So the problem with personal brand is it has some negative connotations for us. However, you have a personal brand whether you like it or not. We all have one. And essentially, personal brand is just a fancy way of saying reputation. It's what you're known for. So you're known for something. You have a reputation, whether you like it or not. And that's why if you're not intentional about it, it will just happen by default. And when we're not intentional about something, the default, what ends up happening, may not be what you want it to be. It's kind of like an organization who's not intentional about their culture and building culture ends up with a culture that they don't want. It's the same concept. The problem with culture is you have one, whether you like it or not, whether you're intentional about it or not. In the same way, you have a personal brand, whether you're intentional about it or not. So today's conversation that we're going to have, I want you to see it as a coaching session. You and me, wherever you are, one-on-one coaching session about your personal brand. And the reason why I want it to feel like that is because about, maybe 10 years ago, maybe more, I remember a mentor of mine sat down with me and said, Shell, I want to talk to you about your personal brand. And I'd never heard the term. It was something completely new to me. It was before people were probably really talking about it. But that was like a pivotal moment in my career where this person sat with me. We had a drink. We were off-site. We weren't at work. And we had a conversation about how am I showing up as a leader. And so it was early days running a team, and there was a few things that I was doing that were actually undermining my effectiveness in that role. And so we had this conversation about my personal brand, and it was hard hitting, but it was a defining moment. I will never forget that conversation, and it really changed how I showed up. And so I want to do the same thing for you. I want this to be your moment where we have a one-on-one conversation wherever you are, and you get the chance to think about how are you showing up and how do you build a personal brand without selling your soul. All right, I want you to think about Oprah Winfrey. Think about her. the amazing Oprah. What comes to mind when you think about her as a leader, as someone who is well-known, celebrity? What are the words that come to mind for you? So wherever you are, I just want you to think maybe 2-3 words. I'm going to put you, Ryan is like not making eye contact with me. He's like in the corner of the studio where he's like trying to avoid eye contact. But okay, Oprah, what do you think of? Just one word.
It's not what you're looking for, but you get a car.
You get a car. No, that is that's really, you get a car. When we think of Oprah, we think you get a car. It's really interesting you say that. When we think of people who are like, they have this reputation, there's a combination of things. We think about their presence, but we think about the things that they say. And the thing that's really interesting about that, I'm so stoked you said that. You get a car. Like that is what we think of when we think of Oprah. She said that it was such an infamous moment, but also what she says, her words and actions align. So obviously every person who was there that day when she did that talk show got a car. It's really fascinating when you think of your personal brand because it's the combination of what you say and what you do. Both have to line up. And the reason why Ryan, when he said the cringe factor of personal brand, when we see someone who doesn't do this well, they'll say one thing, they'll put something out there, but their actions don't align. And the incongruency of those two things, that's where we have problems. And so I want you to think about your personal brand. There has to be no gap between what you say and what you do. And we would call this at Boldside the say-do gap, where you say one thing and you do another. That erodes trust. And so if you are known in your organization for saying one thing and doing another, you will have very low trust in that organization versus people who don't have a say-do gap. They're the ones that are trusted. And so I want you to think about a couple of other leaders. So Oprah, a couple of words that, as in addition to you get a car, a couple of words that come up for me when I think about her as her brand would be vulnerability. She's quite vulnerable. She's got a lot of empathy. The other thing that she does really well is she makes people feel safe. And so that's why some of her interviews, some of her interviews are the most watched interviews of all time. And the reason why is because she gets people to say things that they would never say with anyone else. And so that makes for a compelling conversation. So she has this way of building trust, of listening, of asking really beautiful, curious questions, and she's got a lot of empathy. So if you think about what she's known for, those would come to mind. Let's flip it, and I want you to think about like Steve Jobs. So we all have benefited in some ways from Steve Jobs' amazing creations, if you would call them that, his technology, his design. I remember watching his speech when he launched the iPhone in 2007 or 2008, whenever it was. And you think about Steve Jobs, I want you to think about words that come to mind when you think about him. And I'm going to, again, Ryan, what do you think? Smart, yeah. So like creative genius is what comes to mind for me. I think he is a creative genius. I think his design philosophy is absolutely like insanely amazing, all these things. The other thing, Steve Jobs, and I don't know this firsthand, obviously, but like from his biographies, people had wrote about him that he could be a bit of a tyrant, pretty ruthless in some of his communication style. So that sort of thing. The other thing we know him as a compelling speaker. So you think about these leaders, Oprah, Steve Jobs of this world, the people that are well known in business and they have a brand. In the same way, you don't have to be the founder of Apple to have a brand. You're known for something in your workplace right now, whether you're in a small business with 8 people or whether you are in a multinational company with 20,000 staff, you are known for something. And so I want you to have a moment today to think about, how do I get intentional about my personal brand so that it serves you, so that it serves you in your career, but not just you, that actually serves the organization, because it should benefit people. It shouldn't just benefit you. It's not all about us, believe it or not. We want you to actually add amazing value, have a personal brand that really actually benefits you in your career. So that's what we're going to do today. We're going to get super practical. So I said one-on-one coaching. And what that means is we're going to take time to pause. So if you need to hit pause on the pod and get your notes app out and write down these questions and answer them, do you know what? That will fill my soul. That will make me happy. to know that you're doing the work, because I just think we can talk or we can act. And I'd like both. I'd like to talk and act as much as possible, but I want you to take action today. And so the way you do that, this is what you're going to do. You are going to get asked some hard-hitting questions by yours truly in this conversation. When I ask you this question, you're going to write it down in your notes app and you're going to answer it. Unless you're driving, in which case absolutely do not do that. You can do it later on. But I want you to take the time to self-reflect, because the self-reflection is the gift that you don't often get given. We don't get time to self-reflect. We don't get the space. And that is where the change happens. So hard-hitting questions, you're going to get a lot of them in this conversation. And I want you to then take the time to think about them, to answer them. And then we're going to get to what action are you taking from this. So that is where we are headed.
Do you want to grow in your career? Are you after a fresh start or some inspiration? Or perhaps you're in a career crisis? The book Sort Your Career Out and Make More Money by Shelley Johnson and Glenn James is such a great resource at any stage in your career. It will give you practical strategies for things like getting a promotion, making more money, moving into a leadership role, taking career risks, or if it's time to quit your job, and so much more. You can find Sort Your Career Out and Make More Money wherever good books are sold, or via the link in the podcast show notes. It's also available as an audiobook.
2 questions. What are you known for now versus what do you want to be known for in the future? That is where we're going to start. So I want you to think about this question, or 2 questions as it were, and sit with them. What are you known for now? The good, the bad, and the ugly. Like, don't hold back, just go there. There are things that you do, you bring amazing strengths to your organization and team. I want you to own them. I don't want you to get weird about it. I find it really interesting that people get weird about their strengths. Like, just own them, please. We want you to, because that's actually how you add the most value. The other things I want you to do is I do want you to confront what's the good, but the bad and the ugly that sometimes you bring to work. We all do it. I bring a lot of that to my day-to-day team and workplace. And I want you to think about what that is for you. And I get the giggles, but I think we can laugh about it. It's better to laugh. So what am I known for now? And I want you to pick 8 traits. And there might be 5 really good ones. There might be 3 that you're not so proud of. But what are you known for? And so you might pick 8 traits and sit with those. And then the second part, the step 2, is what do you want to be known for in the future? And so this is how it's going to work. We start with the 8 traits, the good, the bad, and the ugly. I want you to list them out. In your notes app on your phone, you're going to list out 8 traits, good, bad, and ugly. And then you're going to go to the next step, which is what do I want to be known for in the future? And I'm going to ask you to pick 3 to 4 traits. And I want them to be all really positively geared, and they should look, feel, and sound like you at your best. So what do you look like at your best? What are the things you want to be known for? Now, if you're listening, and I will share this example, we were working with a leader, doing some one-on-one coaching, and they did this exact activity. And so I'll read you what they wrote out. So they've given us permission to share this. And the traits that they listed were driven, determined, resilient, mentally tough, self-focused, blunt, disconnected, and aloof. They were the traits that they picked for themselves. That's what they were known for within the team. And they were performing in a really elite level. And some of how they were showing up was undermining their success. So they had a bit of a ceiling. They weren't able to progress to where they wanted to because of some of these behaviors that were holding them back and what they were known for, their reputation in that business. So what we did is we're like, okay, cool. That's what you're known for now. Totally sweet. Let's confront the good, the bad, and the ugly. Let's own it. Then what do you want to be known for in the future? And they came up with these 4 traits: driven, mentally tough. Now, they didn't want to lose their superpowers. And like, hear me, the things that made them, that made them super successful, they don't want to lose that. And we didn't want to lose that in this process. It's not overcorrecting. It's amplifying the strengths you already have. But the things that they did want to tweak was they also wanted to be known as a team player, and they wanted to be known as being coachable. And so I think about, for them, it wasn't an overcorrection. It was like it was a few degrees course correction. So be careful, do not overcorrect here, because you don't want to lose the strengths, but you also want to go, okay, well, what things might I tweak that will help me be more effective, that will actually help me get to whatever my goal is faster. And so because they'd hit a ceiling in their career, they wanted to stay with the organization, but they'd been told, look, these behaviors are not going to fly if you want to get into leadership. So you either work on them or you're never going to get to that role, basically, that they wanted. And so in that process, we worked out, okay, cool. We now know, what are you known for now? What do you want to be known for in the future? Then, this is the most important step. We get to this process of closing the gaps. So there'll always be gaps. There's gaps between what you're known for now, what do you want to be known for in the future. And so for them, we came up with some actions. And the key isn't in just being aware, it's actually in taking action. It's not enough to be self-aware. You must take action on it. So this is what we came up with. For them, they decided to be, the action they would take to become more coachable is that they would actively seek out feedback from either a teammate or someone more senior every week. Just one person, but they would actively seek it out every week. Now, they did not, and I just need to make this explicitly clear, they didn't go up to a team member they respected and say, do you have any feedback for me? Because, as I've said before a million times, that is the worst question you can possibly ask if you want feedback. The reason why it's such a bad question, and we all say there's no silly questions, but there is, or there are, and this is one of them. Do you have any feedback for me is a silly question. I can't say this enough. Because, firstly, it's a closed question. So the only response is yes or no. People are hesitant to give feedback that's constructive. So if you only give them a yes and no option, they're going to lean towards no because it's safer. The second reason why it's bad is it is way too broad. Do you have any feedback for me? About what? Like, what do you want feedback on? Like, about your clothes, about your hairstyle, you got a haircut yesterday. Like, what do you want feedback on? Like, we've got to be more specific. So here's how you're going to ask for feedback. And this is what we did with this particular leader. We went in and we were like, okay, you're going to ask for feedback, but you're going to get really specific. So and the example for you might be you want to get better in your ability to read the room. And so the way you might do this is you might say to your boss, hey boss, the one skill I'm really wanting to get better at is reading the room and understanding some of the dynamics that are happening in meetings so that I can actually tailor my communication style better. That's an area I want to get better at. So what I want you to do in this meeting, I want you to, when I'm showing up, look at what did I do that worked well, what could I do differently, and what are the 1% improvements. What that does, the way you've solicited feedback is you have asked in advance. So you've given them a heads up, so you're going to get better quality feedback because they're going to think about it during that meeting. They're not going to think about it after the fact. You've also been specific. You've narrowed your focus down to one skill instead of trying to be super broad. And you've given them permission to nitpick by asking what are the 1%ers. And so that framework for seeking out feedback is much more effective than what most people do in their career, which is, do you have any feedback for me? So that is my first request. If you want to get more feedback, you've got to ask better questions. That's what we did with that person to help them become more coachable. So they would do that once a week with just one team member. So that doesn't take heaps of effort. Like, that's a little thing, but they were doing it weekly. And then the next thing that they really wanted to do was to become a team player. They wanted to be known as a team player. And to do that, they had to move from being quite self-focused. The team would have referred to them as quite selfish. And so they were like, okay, well, how do I counteract that? One thing that we thought was really simple and easy to do because we like quick wins was that they would get intentional about celebrating the wins of other people. And so they were just finding what are the little wins we can celebrate here. And so for you, when you think about closing the gaps between what you're known for now, the good, the bad, and the ugly, and what you want to be known for in the future, those 3, 4 positive traits, think of 2 actions you can take that are simple and measurable. Like, we could measure, did you seek out feedback this week from one person? Did you actively go and encourage and celebrate the win of a team member who killed it this week? Yes, no. Has it been done? Hasn't it? And so the action and the ability to measure that that action has taken place, that is where the magic happens. So that's step number one when it comes to building your personal brand. We've got to think about, what do you want to be known for, and get intentional about that. Let's get even more practical though. So I'm going to assume you pressed pause, you've written in your notes app, what do you want to be known for in the future versus what are you known for now? You've done that work, so you've captured that. That's step one. That's like our little warm-up activity here. So it's getting us thinking in this way. We're now going to get a bit deeper, and this is where things get really practical. And we haven't shared this model before on the pod, but we've done this in workshops, and we've specifically done this with a lot of HR professionals, because HR professionals often find that they want to work on their brand because they may not get the influence or have the influence that they want within the organization. So if you are in HR, this is going to be really helpful for you. But for anyone who wants to become more influential in an organization and have a bigger impact, this is going to be super helpful. So this is how you build your personal brand on a page. So think about this. It's a one-pager, building your personal brand, and we're going to do it together. Biggest thing here, building your personal brand is not outside in, it is inside out. Let me say that again. Building your personal brand is not outside in, it is inside out. And where people go wrong, and to Ryan's point, what they do is they think about, how am I being perceived by others? And it's all very external, all about image management, all about the PR in the business. No, stop. It's not that. It is about, okay, internally, what do I look like when I'm my best? It's you at your best. Couple of things that I need to say to you, and I need to say this to you because I really feel that I do. The first thing is, you are an original. Like, there is no one like you. Like, you are one of one. You are an original. So stop trying to be like someone else. Like, it really, when I see people watering themselves down, or they're trying to fit a mold that they think they need to fit in, that's when we get our little spidey senses of inauthenticity up, because we're like, just be you. I know I've said this on the pod before. I want you to become your best self. Your best self. And to do your best work, you have to become your best self. So this is us thinking about, what do you look like when you're your best? Now, we're not always operating at our best ever. It's just not reality, but we need to get clear on what that looks like. And in primary school, so my good friend Soph, she's a primary school teacher, and she told me about this thing they do in primary school where it's called Woggle. Have I talked about this on the pod before? You're like, where's she going with this? Woggle. Okay, so it's an acronym. So WAGOLL, Woggle. And Woggle stands for what a good one looks like. And so what they do in primary school is they show kids, if they're getting them to write a comprehension exercise, and they're like, okay, you're going to write a little short story about buses and trains. And this is what a good one looks like. So they put up on the screen, this is what good looks like. And then the kids know the standard. And I think about you, what a good one looks like. What do you look like at your best? Like, I want you to know that. I want you to be really clear on what you look like at your best. And I don't know that we actually sit with this and think, what do I look like at my best? Like, I know people on my team, what they look like at their best, because I've worked with them for a long time, and I know you crushed it today. You were at your best, and here's what your best looks like for you personally. So for Annabelle, who I've talked about a bazillion times on this pod, I know what she looks like at her best, and I could articulate that to her really clearly. Like, she is at her best when she is in the zone. She's working late at night. She's super driven. She's got heaps on the go. She actually thrives in the chaos and the busyness. And that when she's working at her best, she's got this level of ability to cope with complexity, which is very different to me at my best. My best versus hers look totally different, and they should, because we're different people. You've got to work out what a good one looks like for you. What is your version of that? And it'll be different to your boss, it'll be different to your teammate, but it's unique to you because, again, I say you're one of one, you're an original, and so it won't look like everyone else. So let's just be clear on that. We're going to get into how do you do it? So we're going to design your brand on a page, and I want you to think of this. Think of a pentagon. So it's got 5 key elements. This is the model, and I want you to, if you can, draw a pentagon somewhere. I mean, I was actually thinking, is a hexagon 6?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay, cool. So it is a pentagon. So 6, 5. I mean, where are we? Yeah, I'm drawing. So 5, draw a pentagon. Or you can just write 5 dot points if you want. You can go 1 to 5, or you can keep it simple. There are 5 key steps. So step number 1 is promise. Promise. So that is the first part of your brand on a page. And Warren Buffett, who most people listening will know, one of the most successful traders of all time, says a brand is a promise. That's it. That is how he defines a brand. A brand is a promise. So you right now, today, you're making a promise to your organization in how you show up. Ryan in the corner, sitting here, hiding, trying not to be called out. He shows up and he is promising something to his employer, which is not me. He just has the pleasure of working for me, or pleasure or not pleasure. You make a promise to your organization. You make a promise in your career of what value you're going to add. Let's think about Toyota. Toyota's promise as a car manufacturer is reliability. We all know that. They are one of the most reliable car manufacturers in the world. That is the promise they make to customers. You have customers. They're your team, they're your boss, they're your employer, they're your stakeholders. You have customers and you promise them something. Can you deliver on that promise? Is that promise good enough? Is it actually adding the right amount of value? So what I'm going to get you to do now, again, go back to your notes app. We're going to get super practical. You're going to answer a couple of questions for me. What is it that you're promising to those you work with? So there's a couple of sub-questions that you can ask yourself. What value do you want to add in this business? What impact do you want to have on those you work with? This is a really good question that I love. What do you want to be counted on for? What can people count on you for? And the last one is, if I left tomorrow, what would they miss the most about me? So I want you to sit with those. If you need to rewind, write them down, jot them down. But this is going to be the questions I want you to answer. And then at the end, you're going to come up with what's your brand promise in a single sentence. So my brand promise to the people who work with me is like when we're training leaders, the brand promise we give is that they're going to get practical tools, they're going to have hard-hitting questions to self-reflect on, and they're going to have changed behavior. That is the promise that we make. And we also have a little like sub-promise, which is going to be really fun because we are allergic to boring. I want you to think about your brand promise to the organization you're in or the people you work with, whatever that looks like. You're going to come up with a single sentence that captures it. Or you could even come up with just a single word like, I think Toyota's brand promise is that they're reliable. They build reliable cars. Whatever your version is, I want you to come up with that. Okay, next step is number 2, principles. So think about principles being, what are the principles you uphold? You could change the word out for values. What are your values? But I want you to think about, okay, my core principles that I will live out day in, day out. And if you think about this, it's almost like the guide. It's like a compass that directs your decision making. It's the things that I will uphold even when it's tough. And so for me, and I know you'll know this if you've listened for a long time, my principles are growth, autonomy, and fun. And so the things I must have in a work context, I must be growing, I must have a level of autonomy, and it must be fun. If I don't have those things, I will be sad and I will be low energy. So I want you to think about, for you, what are the principles that you need to be your best, but also the things that make you more successful, that guide how you show up and work. And you can do this by, if anyone wants a guide, I've got like a workbook I can send you. If you message me on LinkedIn, send me a message and say, hey, I want the personal brand guide, because I am going to, and we don't normally do this, but I will send you the workbook we run with leaders of how to create this. And then you can actually pick from a whole heap of words. We've got like I don't know, maybe 100 different principles that then you can go away and pick what is it for you, and you're going to create your own personal brand on a page. So I can get that to you. So step number 2 is principles. So I want you to think about the 3 principles you need. And there's a couple of questions that can help you figure it out. What principles guide how you show up? When you feel most frustrated, what's missing? Usually your principles come to light the most when they're not being met. When you're under pressure, what do you live by? So there are a couple of questions I want you to answer or think through, which can help guide that. All right, step number 3 is problems. Problems. And this is where I think, what problems do you solve? The funny thing is, you listening right now, you solve a lot of complex problems, but because you're so used to it, you don't even know you're doing it. It's almost like you do it on autopilot. And people would be able to say, well, Jack is really good at solving this type of problem, but because you, Jack, are so used to doing that, you don't even realize the value that you're adding, because it's the curse of knowledge. When we know how to fix something really quick, we don't actually realize it's a challenge for other people. And so you've got to work out, what are you the go-to problem solver for in your organization? And there'll be themes and threads that you need to pull out and draw on. So here's a couple of questions to help you do it. What high-value problems do you solve? What are you the go-to for in your organization? What kinds of challenges energize you? Like when you think about, I think about in HR, I just loved really messy people problems. Like when there was heaps of drama, I'm sure that surprises everyone listening. They're just like, yeah, sure, of course, makes perfect sense. But I used to love those because they would be the things that energize me. Whereas what I realized was a lot of people don't love those kinds of problems. But I did, and that was unique to me, and I became a go-to for solving messy, complex people problems. You have your own version of that. You need to find what it is. And then you go, cool, how do I get even better at doing that? How do I get more successful in doing that and make it a superpower? And this is the last question on how do you solve problems. What are you known for fixing, improving, or creating? So they're your questions that I want you to answer. Again, you can rewind, but I want you to think about, what are you the go-to problem solver for in your organization? Next up is people. So we've got promise, we have principles, we have problems, and then we have people. This is the 4th step in building your personal brand on a page. Who are the people you need to influence most? So let's go back to Toyota. Toyota know their customer. Their brand promise is that they're reliable. They also know the problems that they solve. They design cars that actually, if you're listening and you're in Australia, they work really well in North Queensland, in the outback, in places that are remote. Like you think about the Land Cruiser and how it just goes everywhere. They know their customer. And so they make vehicles for their customer. In the same way, in your career, you need to think of your career as a business and you go, okay, do I know my customer? Do I know what they need, what they want, what they expect from me? Who are the people that I serve? So 3 questions. Who are the people I need to influence most? Team members, manager, stakeholders, exec, whoever it is. Identify them first. Who are the people you need to influence the most? Step 2, what do they need or want from me? What do they need or want from me? And then the next question, this is the last question on this one. How can I best support them without burning yourself out? That's a little side note. How can you best support them without burning yourself out? So what I'm not saying is go into hyperdrive on the support, because if you burn yourself out, you're not going to support them anyway. They're the questions I want you to answer. So step 4 is people. Who do you serve? And then the last one, and it's last for a very good reason, is presence. Step number 5 is presence. And so I want you to think about, and this is where people go wrong with personal brand. They think about this first. What is the presence I want to bring in? Like, what's the aesthetic? What's the vibe? What's the image? What are no, we do this last, because really, if you've done the other 4 things well, this will just be an outcome. So we don't think about the external first. We think about the internal stuff first. And I could talk about that all day because it annoys me. All right, so presence. When you think about your presence, how are you showing up? I want you to think about a few things. What's the tone or energy you bring into meetings? What is the tone or energy you bring into meetings? Again, it'll be unique to you. Ryan's tone in a meeting is actually quite different to mine. You don't say. And that's good. I mean, it's actually, we want you to be you and to be different. And I want you to figure out what's the tone or energy you bring in. Just like, again, going back to a business has a tone of voice guideline, they will have guidelines around how they communicate. This is what we sound like. These are the types of, this is the tone. Like if you think about, a good example of this is like Go-To Skincare. They have a really beautiful tone of voice that's cheeky and it's very different to other skincare products, which are, they're not trying to be complex or luxe in like these kind of confusing ways. They're like, actually, we're cheeky, we're fun, we make it down to earth and relatable. That's their tone of voice. You've got to think about your tone of voice. How do you show up? How do you communicate online, in person, and just genuinely kind of do a little bit of reflection on that. And then the other thing I want you to think about is, what am I doing or not doing that influences my presence? So for example, when I had that conversation like 10 years ago with that person who said, we're going to work on your personal brand, I remember getting feedback in that moment where I heard that I talk too much in meetings and don't let the quieter people speak up. I'm laughing because I'm still giggling about how true that was and how good this conversation was that I needed to have. And so for me, I had to realize, okay, the presence I want to have in a meeting is I want quieter people to feel heard. And if I dominate the conversation, they don't. So I had to do the work on, you know what, I'm a dominant voice. Like I can be, I can talk a lot, and I need to create space for quieter people to feel that they can speak up. So one thing I did is I had to ask them questions and let them go first rather than me jumping in. You need to think about that presence for you. What is it? What do you want to, how do you want that tone or energy to come through in your interactions with people? And so that's where I think about presence. Another question you might ask is, what 3 words do you want people to use when describing you? What 3 words do you want them to use? And so think about those questions. There is lots to cover in this conversation. I know we've gone through and moved through fairly quickly. I want to walk through this model one more time. So how do you build your personal brand? So this is your personal brand on a page. Step 1, promise. What are you promising to the organization and to the people you work with? Step 2, principles. What are the principles that guide how you show up and how you make decisions? Step 3, problems. What are you the go-to problem solver for in your organization? Step 4, people. Who do you serve? What do they want and need from you? And step 5, presence. How do you show up? What's the tone? What's the energy? What words would people use to describe you? That is how you define your personal brand on a page. If you would like the guide, message me on LinkedIn. I'll get you some resources over. And I just want to say one final thing. You are one of one. So bring your own personality. And to do your best work, you've got to become your best self. And so I want to encourage you, own the strengths, show up as you, and thanks for hanging out.
If you have enjoyed the show today, forward it to a friend, colleague, or family member who you may think it would benefit. Shelley's business Boldside provides leadership training for a variety of different businesses. To learn more, visit boldside.com.au. If you would like to book Shelley to speak at one of your events, please reach out to the team via moneypodcast.com.au.